Hello everyone and welcome to the Distinct Mastering YouTube channel. My name is Freddie. Today we're going to be having a short little quick video on a cool little EQ that I just was playing around with by Soundtoys, and it's called the Sie EQ, or maybe Sie-Q. It's a fun little EQ, adds a lot of color, has a cool drive knob, can give your track some character and life. I use it on a bunch of different things in this track I'm working on, so let's jump right into my session and check it out. Okay, before we get into the Ableton session, I want to talk about what the Sie-Q actually is. The Sie-Q is an interesting EQ. Sie-Q is a Soundtoys remake or analog modeled classic remake of a German EQ from the 1960s. It's called the Siemens W295B, and this is what it looks like. This EQ module was from the Siemens Citrol consoles, and it had several swappable EQ cassettes that Siemens designed for the console. Holding one of the cassettes, apparently, according to the manual, gives you a sense of how well built and rugged the quality is. So you won't find a lot of these in service today, and so Soundtoys has vividly recreated this unique EQ. And I got to admit, after using it today, I think I'll be using this in some of my future productions. Let's get into my Ableton session and check it out. Okay, here we are in my Ableton session. I'm going to play you this a little bit later, but let's talk about the Sie-Q. And let's get into an overview. You have your standard Soundtoys stuff here. You've got your presets here. You can save, you can undo something. You got your settings knob or your news knob. And then you've got the settings here, your user's guide, support, your account, and your bypass button. This is a very simple EQ. And you just have a low, mid, and high, and a drive knob, and then you have a mid frequency selector right here. So on the low end, you can go plus or minus 15 dB boost or cut. On the mid range, you can go plus or minus 8 dB boost or cut, and you get a selector here. So you can select 700 hertz, 1000 hertz, 1500 hertz, 2300 hertz, 3500 hertz, or 5600 hertz, or as it's represented in kilohertz here, 0.7, 1.0, 1.5, 2.3, 3.5, and 5.6. On the high end, you get a 15 dB plus or minus. Now, one thing to note, according to the manual, if you look at the graphs on the Sie-Q of the EQ curves, you'll see that the low end and the high end start roughly around 1000 hertz, and then they both slope up and then flatten out, but on the high end, it has a bigger boost. So this is what the low end looks like compared to the high end, and this is what the mid-range boost looks like. Last but not least, you have a drive knob here, which is just going to add either plus or minus 15 dB boost. This was not found on the original Siemens EQ, but it is a unique little thing to add some output, or if you want to gain down. Now, when you do boost, it does have auto gain, but I do find that the volume hasn't been changing, but it just sounds bigger. So let's get into what this thing actually looks like in Plugin Doctor, and then we're going to get into some examples. Okay, so here we are in Plugin Doctor, and this is the Sie-Q at the default state. As you can see, it's already adding some character. It's cutting down some really low lows down here below 20 hertz, mostly at 5 hertz. And it's got this weird curvature to it. So you can tell instantly it's doing something. As you flip through some of these presets here, you can see that they're doing some pretty wacky EQ moves. And some of these can really alter your sound if you play around with some of these presets, so be careful there. Now, if you notice, this drive knob, like I said, is a boost, but it does give a little bit of color, it looks like. It's changing the EQ curvature. And then you have, like I said, on the low end, unlike the Soundtoys manual, it doesn't account for this, but it doesn't actually go that low, I think, on the graph. It went about to 10 or 20 hertz. And then, as you can see, as I boost the mid-range or change the selector, you're going to get some of those wacky curves we were just looking at. And then you have your top end here. So you can really do some interesting things with this EQ. It's a unique EQ. It's got some interesting touch points as far as the mid-range go, and it's got some unique curves here. So let's get into what this thing sounds like. And I also did a little cool comparison with a generic Fabfilter EQ and tried to get as close as I could to it. Let's get into my session. Okay, here we are back in my session, and I want to mention that this session is something new that I'm working on. It's on some Stutterhouse stuff. It's not currently mixed, but let me go ahead and play you a little bit of it so you can get the vibe. Okay, so the first thing I used this Sie-Q on was this bass. I'm going to turn this off so you can hear what it sounds like. And then on. It really does enhance the low end of the bass and just carve out a lot of space. And I want to show you in real time how if I move this back to 0 and I move it down -6 at 700 Hertz. Really add some character. Let's take this low end to 0. And I'm going to bring that back up. So you can see that it really helped to fit that bass in the mix. Let's try to compare this with a Pultec. I'm going to go ahead and zero this out just so we can get some comparison here. And I brought a Pultec in right here. What I'm going to do is mute this Sie-Q, and we're going to take this -6. This is the MEQ5, and I have an older video on the Pultec. You can check that out. I'll leave you a link down below if you're curious. This is the UAD version. And let's go ahead and play. This is the Pultec. Turning that off and turning on the Sie-Q. Sie-Q is on. Switching to Pultec. So yeah, they are different. I mean, the Sie-Q has its own color, as we saw from Plugin Doctor. So if you're looking to try to add some more flavors to your EQ arsenal, you might check out this EQ. Okay, so the next thing that I used the Sie-Q on was the vocal, and I used the clarity preset. Let me go ahead and show you what the vocal sounds like in this section of the song before the Sie-Q is on. And I'm going to play that again. So I just soloed it. The Sie-Q is on. I'm going to bypass it and bring it back. So it's adding some clarity, like it says, the preset says. It has a presence boost on the high end of almost 3 dB. It's got a 1500 Hertz presence boost at about 4 dB, a little more. And then it's actually cutting the lows -3 dB. So that's a nice little curve there to help those vocals sit better in the mix. And I like the color that it added, so I decided to leave it. You know, I just threw the Sie-Q on, a bunch of things playing around with it for this video, and I'm happy with it. It's pretty good. Okay, lastly, I used the Sie-Q on this handpan sample that I have in this track. I'll go ahead and play you this by itself so you could hear what it sounds like. And as you can see, we've got, I put a little more than -6 dB on the low end. I boosted 1K, almost about 3 dB, almost 4 dB. And I boosted the high end at 9 dB, and then I did give it a little more drive. So what this sounds like prior to the Sie-Q, and then after, it really helps give it some more character. Now I'm going to bring in the track so you can hear it in because I don't like to EQ and mix things in solo. I'm doing this for the video. So the Sie-Q is on. I'm going to turn off this loop. Let's bypass it. So you can see it doesn't sit as well in the mix right there. And it also is helping enhance the groove with that mid-range. Listen to this. And that low end. Okay, so it's a pretty cool EQ, I got to admit. So let's do something else just for fun. Okay, what I've done is I've kind of tried to recreate the curve structure in the Fabfilter Pro-Q3 from the Sie-Q. It's not perfect, I know, don't knock me, but I want to show you how different these sound, just because. So let's go ahead and play this hand pan. That's with nothing. Now I'm going to turn on the Sie-Q. Now I'm going to turn on the Pro-Q3. Vastly different. Now I know I could probably fiddle around with this and try to get it a little better, but I just wanted to show you that, this Sie-Q EQ by Soundtoys is giving it that German character I was talking about in the beginning of the video, and it's pretty unique. So if you're looking for another EQ to add to your toolbox, just add to your arsenal, check this one out. I think it's pretty cool. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please do hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and the bell notification will keep you up to date. Any questions on this video or this EQ, drop me a comment down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.